And Millie, if you want to hit the lights for me, it gets kind of glary when I got the computer up. All of them. That's enough light for you guys to see, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We get a lot of good light in here. So like we just talked about, and I'll just finally write it down now. Quadrant 1 is the one that's in the top right-hand corner. Quadrant 2 is in the top left. Quadrant 3 is in the bottom left, and then quadrant 4. If it makes you happy, you can just do normal numbers there. There's no reason to use the Roman numerals. I don't really care that much, but that's just generally how we teach it. Which one is my x-axis? Is it my horizontal or is it my vertical? Horizontal is my x-axis, and that means my vertical one is called my y-axis. And then what's that point in the very middle of the graph called? 0, 0, which is the origin. Very good. Good. I know this is some algebra 1 stuff, but we just got to review it just so that we're all on the same page. If you flip over to the next next couple problems, oh, sorry, not physically flip, just kind of scroll over or move your eyes over. We have to plot and label these points. So we're just going to do a little practice graphing. Remind me, this first number 1, is that a left and right movement or an up and down movement? Left and right movement because it's my x. And then that means that -1 is my y, which makes that the up and down movement. I know that sounds so silly, but sometimes we forget because it's been a long time since we've graphed. So I'm going to go right 1 and I'm going to go down -1 to get letter A. There's no reason to write those little arrows unless it's helpful to you. Similarly, when we do B, we go over 2 and then up and down 0. So I'm just on the x-axis for B. And then lastly, I'm going to go left to -3, and then we're going to go down 2 to -2 to get letter C. Nice little review. That's pretty easy, right? We remember how to graph. Okay, go ahead and flip it over. We're going to do some absolute value stuff. Absolute value. We'll do a little bit more with absolute value closer to the end of class, but absolute value just technically means the distance away from something. So if I'm going to do the absolute value of -6, what does that do to my -6? It makes it positive, right? So that becomes 6 plus 6, which is 12. The one underneath that, do I do the absolute value first and then add them, or do I add them and then worry about the absolute value? Add them. Good. Do that inside first. So -3 plus 4 is going to be absolute value of 1, and that's just 1. All right, letter C. Absolute or net 5 minus absolute value of -5. What is going on there? Make that -5 positive. So I've got 5 minus 5, which is going to become 0. Very good. And then this last one, I don't often ask you guys to take pi and like do something with it. Generally, I would say leave pi as pi, but for this, we'll just make it a decimal. So we'll treat that as 3.14 minus 4, just so we can kind of practice the idea of this absolute value. 3.14 minus 4 is approximately -0.86. So what's the absolute value of that? Positive 0.86. Good. So just a little practice with our absolute values. This section is all over the place. So we're going to jump to absolute values. We'll jump back. Now we're going to go into something that I swear you learn in the first week of every year of math. Okay. This next thing says find AB. When I just give you 2 letters next to each other with no hat, no segment, no line, no nothing on top, that means that I want you to find the distance. So we're going to do distance formula. I know that's something that we did in geometry, and I feel like it's something we do like every year just for like a few weeks at least. So we're going to remind ourselves of distance formula. Does anyone remember it off the top of their head? Or know any special parts that make the distance formula? No.
How did you decide to take the one? Oh,